Episode 5. The poster with no name. The wall near the old transit station was easy to miss. That was why it worked. It sat just beyond the reach of streetlights, half-shadowed by a closed-down ticket office and a row of rusted railings that no one had touched in years. People passed it every day without noticing, their attention fixed on schedules, screens, and the quiet impatience of routine. Ethan noticed it immediately. A single sheet of white paper was taped to the concrete, edges curling slightly in the evening air. No symbol, no handwriting flourish, just text, printed cleanly in black. The same words. Did you feel it too? Stop pretending you didn't. You are not the only one. Claire stood beside him, arms folded tightly across her chest. This is where it started, she said quietly. Ethan nodded. He felt the familiar pressure behind his eyes, the signal his body now recognized before his mind caught up. The air around the wall felt wrong. Not distorted, not frozen, but attentive, as if the space itself were aware of being observed. Whoever did this, Claire continued, they knew it would be found. Yes, Ethan said, and they knew it wouldn't last. The poster wasn't alone. Ethan noticed the details as they stood there longer. Faint tape marks where older pages had been removed. Scratches in the concrete where someone had scraped residue away too carefully. This wall had been used repeatedly, quietly, with patience. Pattern, not panic. Whoever was behind this wasn't reacting. They were preparing. Ethan's phone vibrated. Unknown number. This is the source. Ethan didn't type a reply. He didn't need to. The presence around them intensified slightly, not focused solely on him this time, but spread thin, as if stretched across too many points at once. Time was watching the wall, not the people. The message followed. Remove it. Claire stiffened beside him. Did you get something? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. It wants this gone. Claire stared at the paper. Of course it does. She reached out, fingers hovering inches from the poster, then stopped. Her hand trembled. If I touch it, she said. Will it? I don't know, Ethan said honestly. They stood there, neither moving, as footsteps echoed faintly from the station entrance behind them. A man passed without slowing, his eyes skimming the wall without registering the words. Not yet, but someone else would. The poster was still there the next morning. And the morning after that. Ethan checked the wall twice a day, half expecting it to vanish between glances. Didn't. Instead, more tape appeared around it, fresh strips reinforcing the edges, anchoring it more firmly to the concrete. Someone was maintaining it. Someone careful. At school, the effects multiplied. A teacher stopped mid-sentence and asked the class if anyone else felt like the room had shifted. Laughter followed. Too loud. Too forced. In the cafeteria, two students argued over whether lunch had already ended, both insisting the clock had changed while they weren't looking. Claire cornered Ethan near the library. They're talking, she whispered. Not openly, but they're asking each other questions. Ethan felt the weight of that settle in his chest. The poster wasn't just information anymore. It was permission. That night, the presence came early. Ethan sat on his bed, lights off, phone untouched, listening to the house breathe around him. The fan turned steadily. The clock ticked forward without hesitation. At 2:41 a.m., the air shifted. Subtle. Familiar. You're here, Ethan said quietly. The presence did not respond in words. It didn't need to. Ethan felt its attention narrow, not aggressively, but with a focus that felt almost disappointed. The phone lit up on its own. You were warned. Ethan swallowed. About what? He typed. The reply came slowly. Visibility creates instability. Ethan thought of the wall, the paper, the quiet insistence of the message. Someone chose to be visible, he typed. The pause that followed was long enough to feel deliberate. Then, choice introduces error. The room felt heavier, not threatening, but constrained, like a space being prepared for adjustment. The following afternoon, Ethan finally saw them. Not at the wall, not watching from across the street. At the bus stop near the transit station, sitting on the low concrete barrier as if waiting for someone who never arrived. A woman, maybe in her late 20s. Plain jacket, hair pulled back carelessly. Nothing about her stood out at first glance, which was precisely why Ethan noticed her. She was watching the wall, not reading it, watching it. Claire noticed too. "That's her," she whispered. "How do you know?" Ethan asked. "She's not pretending not to see it." They crossed the street slowly, deliberately, careful not to draw attention. The woman glanced at them as they approached, her expression neutral, unafraid. "You felt it," she said before either of them could speak. It wasn't a question. Ethan nodded. "So did you." The woman studied him for a moment, then smiled faintly. "That makes 3. "Why the poster?" Claire asked. "Why risk it?" The woman looked back at the wall. "Because I got tired of pretending it didn't happen." Ethan felt the pressure spike sharply. "What happened to you?" he asked. The woman hesitated, then spoke. "I lost a memory. Not time. Not minutes. A memory." Ethan frowned. "What kind of memory?" "One that never happened," she said quietly. The air shifted, not froze, shifted. Ethan felt it instantly, the same sensation he had felt when rules were about to change. The presence tightened, its attention snapping sharply toward the woman. She felt it too. Her shoulders tensed. "It doesn't like that I remember," she said. "Not because it happened. Because I know it didn't." Claire's breath caught. "That's impossible." The woman shook her head. "That's what it wants you to think." Ethan's phone vibrated violently in his pocket. Unknown number. "She is unstable." Ethan didn't look at the screen. He kept his eyes on the woman. "What was the memory?" he asked. The woman exhaled slowly. "A conversation with my sister. One I was sure we'd had. I remembered every detail. The place. The words. The feeling." She met Ethan's eyes. "My sister died 3 years ago." The presence surged. The wall felt closer. The air thickened. Claire grabbed Ethan's arm. The woman straightened, her voice calm despite the tremor beneath it. "It can erase time," she said. "But it can't erase contradictions." The phone buzzed again. "End this." Ethan understood then. The poster wasn't the threat. The memory was. A bus pulled up behind them, its brakes hissing loudly. The sudden noise broke the tension just enough for the moment to pass. The presence receded slightly, not gone, but restrained. The woman stepped back. "I shouldn't stay," she said. "You shouldn't either." "What's your name?" Claire asked. The woman smiled faintly. "Names are easy to erase." She turned and boarded the bus, disappearing into the crowd without another glance. The poster remained on the wall, unchanged. Ethan's phone vibrated one last time before he put it away. This is how corruption begins. Ethan stared at the wall, the weight of realization settling into him. The hunt was no longer about minutes. It was about memory, about what happened, and what never did. The bus disappeared into traffic, carrying the woman with it. Ethan stood on the pavement long after it was gone, staring at the empty space where she had been, as if expecting the air to collapse inward the way it had beneath the bridge with Lucas. Didn't. The city continued breathing around them, unaware of how close it had come to something breaking. Claire was the first to speak. She wasn't lying. Ethan nodded. He could still feel it, the tightening sensation, the pressure that had surged when the woman spoke about her memory. Time had reacted to her in a way it never had to him or Claire. Not because she noticed, because she remembered something that contradicted it. They walked away from the wall slowly, neither of them turning back. Ethan felt certain that if he looked again, the poster would still be there, patient and unchanged. It wasn't going anywhere. That night Ethan dreamed. Not vividly, not symbolically, precisely. He stood in his childhood home, in the narrow hallway outside his old bedroom. The walls were painted the same dull off-white they had always been. The carpet smelled faintly of dust and cleaning solution. Every detail felt correct. Too correct. At the end of the hallway, his mother stood with her back to him. "Mom," he said. She turned. Her face was right, but something about her expression was wrong. Not hostile. Not vacant. Incomplete. "You weren't supposed to remember this," she said. Ethan woke with a gasp. The clock read 2:19 a.m. The fan was still. The air felt heavy. For a moment, panic surged through him, then receded. The room didn't tighten further. The presence didn't deepen. Time had not intervened. That frightened him more than if it had. Ethan lay awake until morning, replaying the dream in his mind. It didn't feel like imagination. It felt like recollection, like a memory dislodged from somewhere it didn't belong. At breakfast, his mother spoke about ordinary things. Grocery lists, traffic, weather. She looked exactly as she always had. Still, Ethan watched her carefully. Nothing was wrong, which raised the question he couldn't escape. What else felt right that shouldn't? At school, Claire noticed the change immediately. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said. "I slept," Ethan replied. "I just don't trust what I dreamed." He told her about the hallway, the voice, the sentence. "You weren't supposed to remember this." Claire listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with every word. "That's what she meant," Claire said finally. "The woman. It's not just time it erases. It's context," Ethan said. "Meaning." Claire nodded slowly. "Memories that don't fit." They didn't need to say what came next. If time could erase minutes, and now memories, then the most dangerous thing a person could do wasn't to notice. It was to remember incorrectly. The posters multiplied again. Not at school this time. Across the city. Bus shelters. Underpasses. Blank walls near grocery stores. Always the same text. Always the same plain white paper. No handwriting. No identifying marks. Ethan saw 3 on his way home alone. He stopped at the third one longer than necessary, watching people pass. Most didn't notice. A few slowed, frowned, then moved on. One man stopped entirely, reading the words again and again, his brow furrowed in confusion. Ethan felt the pressure behind his eyes spike. The man shook his head and walked away quickly, as if embarrassed by his own reaction. The poster had done its job. It wasn't trying to convince. It was trying to resonate. That evening, Ethan's phone buzzed while he was alone in his room. Unknown number. "The anomaly is spreading." Ethan typed back before thinking. "It's not an anomaly." The reply came slowly. "Incorrect memory is the most unstable condition." Ethan stared at the words. "You can erase events," he typed. "Why not erase the memory?" The pause that followed felt heavier than any silence before it. Then, "Because memory does not belong entirely to time." Ethan's breath caught. That was new. That was fear. Claire called him an hour later. Her voice was low, tense. "Something happened." "Where are you?" "At home. My dad just asked me about a trip we never took." Ethan sat up. "What kind of trip?" "A weekend by the coast," she said. He described it like it was real. The hotel, the weather, things we did together. And I remember it too," Claire whispered. "But we never went." The pressure surged violently. Ethan felt it across the distance, a tightening so sudden it made him gasp. "Claire," he said urgently, "listen to me. Don't talk about it. Not out loud." "It already knows," she said. "I can feel it." As if summoned by the words, Ethan's phone lit up. "Unknown number. This is unacceptable." Ethan's hands shook. "Then stop it," he typed. The reply was immediate. "Correction is underway." That night, the city felt brittle. Not unstable. Fragile. Like a structure holding too many contradictions at once. Ethan lay on his bed, lights on, phone beside him, heart racing as the minutes crept forward. He no longer waited for 3:07. The rules had loosened too much for that. At 2:47 a.m., the air shifted, not tightened, thinned, as if something essential had been removed. Ethan sat up. The fan turned once, then stopped. The clock hesitated. And then nothing. No freeze. No presence. Just absence. Ethan felt suddenly, terrifyingly alone. Then his phone vibrated. Unknown number. "Do you remember your hallway?" Ethan's blood ran cold. "Yes," he typed. Another message followed. "That memory was removed once. You are experiencing residue." Ethan's mind reeled. "From when?" The reply came slowly, as if reluctant. "Before you noticed time." Ethan's chest tightened painfully. The hunt hadn't begun with the missing minute. It had begun with forgetting. The next day, the woman returned. Not to the wall, to Ethan's school. He saw her standing across the street during lunch break, watching the building with the same calm intensity he remembered. She didn't approach. She didn't hide. She waited. Ethan crossed the street alone. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "Neither should you." He hesitated, then asked the question that had been building since the dream. "Did it take something from me?" She studied him for a long moment. "Yes." "What?" "A memory you never knew you had," she said. "Those are the easiest to remove." Ethan felt the pressure spike again, sharper than ever. "What was it?" he asked. The woman shook her head. "I don't know. That's the point." She met his eyes. "But I know how it felt when it disappeared." Ethan swallowed. "How?" "Like a door closing that I didn't know was open." The presence surged around them, sudden and intense. The woman stiffened. "It doesn't want this conversation." "No," Ethan said quietly. "It doesn't." She stepped back. "That's why we have to keep having it." Before Ethan could respond, the bell rang. Students flooded out of the building, the moment swallowed by noise and movement. When he looked again, the woman was gone. Only the pressure remained. That night, Ethan didn't wait for the minute. He sat awake, heart pounding, the realization settling into him with brutal clarity. Time wasn't hunting witnesses anymore. It was hunting contradictions, memories that didn't fit, stories that refused to erase themselves cleanly. And somewhere inside him, beneath the surface of what he remembered and what he didn't, was something missing that still mattered. The phone vibrated one last time. "Unknown number. You are remembering incorrectly. That makes you dangerous." Ethan stared at the message, fear giving way to something steadier. Resolve. If memory didn't belong entirely to time, then neither did the future.